as we move closer to the NFL playoff. Today, we are looking at the biggest flaws in AFC and NFC playoff teams.
So we're going to start with the AFC, and let's start with Robert.
Evan, I'm going to go with the Bills because at this point, we know Josh Allen's great. We know Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Right now, he's working through what is essentially a pitching elbow injury. He's not going to get surgery on that because the Bills are a contender, and they're asking him to do everything. They're asking him to do everything, and it's not working out with red zone interceptions. Possibly the worst mistake you can make in the NFL. I think the Bills ask Allen to do too much, and that is not a mix. Right now they'd be slated to play the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs. A team with a good defense can take away Diggs, or a team with a good defense can make sure Diggs is an option, and then Allen's doing more. So I'm going to go with the Bills' fatal flaw of Josh Allen being a superhero and then overcompensating for that.
All right, Christian, what is one team's flaw that you're looking at?
I'm not worried about the Bills. They slumped last year. They came back in the playoffs, absolutely paced the Patriots. We're a coin flip away from beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I am worried about the Ravens. Yes, that defense is coming together. They're playing good ball, but poor Lamar Jackson, it's like his team actively is rooting against him with this receiving core right now. He had to turn to Josh Oliver, and I don't know, how old is Deshaun Jackson? 40, 50, 65? I mean, he's still running like a 4.3 40, but that's not a good receiving core. That is a problem, and that is killing the Ravens right now. They can't get it done, and if they ground the Baltimore running game like the Jaguars did, it's going to be a real problem. I don't think Baltimore is going to have that playoff recipe for success, and I think it's all going to get laid at Lamar Jackson's feet when it comes time for for contract negotiations, and that sucks.
All right, so that was the AFC. Let's look at the NFC, where it's pretty much top-loaded with 4 good teams. So, starting with you, Christian, what is one team that has a fatal flaw that you're worried about?
A couple weeks ago, it would have been the Eagles in that run defense, but those veteran additions, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, they worked out. So I'm a little bit less concerned there, a little more concerned about Minnesota. They did get a nice win over the Patriots on Thanksgiving, but that defense, a lot of question marks there. They're not going to be able to play Mac Jones every week, and Mac Jones still was able to look good against them, which is red flag. We know what Kirk Cousins is at this point. He's got great numbers. He's going to put up big stats, but they're eventually going to be empty. Yes, he did have a great throw to beat the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans in the playoffs a couple years back. But other than that, he hasn't really shown up in these big games. He's got a ton to prove. If he's going to be a different quarterback, now would be a weird time to show it. I'm not counting out Kirk Cousins, but history suggests he is not going to be the guy that takes Minnesota to the next level, and they need someone like that.
All right, Robert, what team concerns you?
I'm going to roll with the Cowboys. I am not a believer in Dak Prescott. I think he has the tendency. He's probably a good foil to Kirk Cousins. He's Kirk Cousins in Dallas, where he's going to get his stats, but he's going to make a back-breaking mistake. He's going to make some sort of boneheaded interception that will frustrate Cowboys fans despite having a very talented roster. I'm concerned what he does outside of CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard. With Dallas, there's not exactly much offensive diversity there. There's a reason they're in the conversation for Odell Beckham, who, I remind you, is coming off a torn ACL. We don't know what it's going to be. The Cowboys have the NFC out in a platter, but I think their quarterback's a little bit of a liability, and who he has to lean on is a little bit of a liability.
All right, so I got a question for y'all. In the NFC, the top 4 teams, Eagles, Vikings, Cowboys, and 49ers, what quarterback out of the 4 do you trust most, being that 3 of them are pretty average, and then you have Jalen Hurts, who's pretty much the youngest out of the group?
That's a really good question. I mean, we've seen Kirk Cousins kind of struggle before, and he's not having a great season by his own standards this year. Jimmy Garoppolo is peaking right now. He's having his most efficient season, so I kind of want to say him, but let's be honest. So much of his success is derived from the people around him, and he's still Jimmy Garoppolo. He's still going to give you 1 or 2 baffling throws per half. I think Hurts might be the guy just because he's got that extra dimension with his legs. He's making things happen, even though, well, I'm not 100% sold on him right now, being able to make those big throws downfield. He didn't have to do them in Week 12 against the Packers because they ran right the hell over Green Bay. Hurts is getting there, but he's not that guy yet. He's got a ton to prove. But out of that group of division leaders, and not counting the Buccaneers because they suck, Hurts might be the best.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Hurts too. I'm not as concerned about the inexperience. I think that's the kind of thing where the Eagles are in a great position. Even if he can't make the big time throws, they bully everyone. They can bully everyone. I mean, he was about to break Justin Fields' rushing record last night. If things broke in a different way, they can do that in the event he doesn't make the big throws. I think he's the best playmaker of those four. I think he's the best multifaceted quarterback of those four, and I think the experience factor will mean very little for a guy that has started to prove that he can make those kinds of closing plays at the very end.